Hey everybody, One of Wiisdom here, November 1st, hard to believe already, 10:54 p.m., just saw the Cubs take Game 6 in the World Series. Got a Halloween live stream in our traditional Skylanders fashion. Sort of an annual thing, we try to live stream on Halloween, live scream if you will. What we did, we went through the Undead Sensei realm, and we did that so we could get Wolfgang's Soul Gem primarily, so we could do kind of a little bit more in depth. We'll still lack the Sky Chi, but we'll make standalone videos for that. But we got that taken care of. We went through the Undead Realm twice. Second time to get the missing treasure chest. And then, first time ever, we did live Skylanders research. The people watching the stream wanted to see it. Made it happen. Took standard Wolfgang through his base upgrades. Since then, earlier tonight, I took Wolfgang down Soundmeister, as I said I would in that video. And what I'm going to do now is just, it'll hopefully be a quicker video. So we're going to take Dark Wolfgang here, which a lot of people, Orion's Island included, you know, when they see him in the starter pack, it's kind of like, yeah, you know. But when he saw him in game, he was like, man, that looks amazing. And I'm seeing that from quite a few people. So what we're going to do here is showcase his attacks. Let me get to the handy-dandy spreadsheet. And it's filling up fast, I gotta say. So primary attack is called Strike a Chord. It's going to do 32 to 48. You can fire it off, you know, I mean, it's close to spammable as we've seen in this game. Where I was sad, very, very sad. Sad enough to tweet a video about Cinderella. You don't know what you got till it's gone. Not Disney, oh no. We're talking 80s power ballads, folks. It's, in Trap Team, when you capture Wolfgang, you jump up, you slam down. You know, right? You've got this, the harp slam, as I call it. Here in Imaginators, he jumps and he just shoots an arrow. It doesn't do any additional damage. The honest truth is, the majority of the time it sails over the head of your enemy. That said, there have been several times, I swear, I can't always replicate it, and it's not just because I'm a Wolfgang fan, but there's been several times I've been able to jump and then the arrow sort of like take a downward trajectory towards the enemy. It's sort of like no rhyme or reason in terms of me explaining what it's doing, but sometimes it does. And I've only gotten to play through 2 chapters, or 2 levels. Well, we don't even know what they're called, really. Historically, they would be chapters, I guess. But if you go back to SSA, there's times where a jump attack, you know, basically like this wouldn't hit an enemy, but if I could jump and do it, it would. Maybe there will be areas like that in Imaginators. I'm just honestly not sure yet. Now, the knee slide, and they do 32-48, can't remember if I said that. The knee slide, if you were to corner an enemy, you could do 32 to 48. You can sort of control it. You could do like a small circle as well. I mean, you get the idea. If you were to corner an enemy, like right here, we would do 14 to 21 4 times. It's sort of our max. So let's go ahead and showcase the primary attack. Note, it doesn't really like push the enemy back, but it does halt forward progress. So that's worth noting. And then with the knee slide, it does knock the enemy back. And then, like I said, you can sort of manipulate it and get all 4 hits on him. Let's try a few jump shots. See what I mean about going over the head? Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Just kind of take it for what it's worth. But if there are, in fact, areas, like say there's an enemy up on top of this lamp, that's not going to get it. That's not going to get it. This might. So if that's the case, it'll prove to be kind of a cool touch. But I was heartbroken about not having the jump attack. I basically envisioned something like we have with Chopscotch, right? Her jump slam attack. And we kind of get that, but not to the degree I had hoped. I'll kind of showcase it as we go. Nearly pulled the lever to get the upgrades. It's just an old habit.
What I do is art and cannot be quantified by stats.
There you go. There's a quick look at Wolfgang there. It's, again, 32-48, 14 to 21 4 times. First upgrade, if we want these base upgrades like we're going to get here, all 4 of them, 5, 7, 9, and 1200 respectively, you're going to need 3,300 cash in your pocket. So we get started with the tertiary attack, Songs of the Underworld. Press Y to summon speakers so loud they'll blast your enemies away. In more ways than one, truth be told. So The very cool thing about these, when we throw them down, well, number one, check this out. When I throw them down, you will see that he slams the harp into the ground, and then that triggers a speaker on either side of the harp. So check it out.
Excellent!
If you note, these actually have a very good radius. You can't necessarily tell, but it's a situation where if the speaker was this lever and there was an enemy maybe here, it would be taking damage from the radius of it. The speaker would be facing and projecting towards the staircase, but just the radial, like the V on the cone of the speaker, it would be hitting enemies over here. So that's a nice perk that you can't really tell is there. In addition to doing 16 to 24 damage, they're present for roughly 4 seconds. You can get 5 hits of damage. They'll do 16 to 24, but they also knock enemies back. They push enemies away. That's sort of what I was saying, more ways than one. And then as I mentioned, the initial slam when the harp comes down, let's have that facing you. 16 to 24 there, and then 5 hits, 16 to 24, and a better radius than you would think. So let's go ahead and get these in. And like I said, that guy just cannot advance. Well, that's not going to help us, is it? But see how he just gets pushed back. He cannot come forward. Every time I do it, you see it happen. So essentially, the slam, if that is to hit an enemy, 16 to 24, and then the speakers themselves, you get 5 counts of damage, 16 to 24. Very nice radius, and they push enemies away. The reason that is a perk is, watch this. If we come in here and we're very low health, we'll say, slam it down, it pushes the enemy away, and then I can just barrage this guy with arrows, which, like I said, the arrows themselves don't do knockback, but they sort of keep him in place. You know, if you hit him, he's not coming forward. Couple that with the speakers in tandem, you've got a very, very sophisticated way of kind of taking care of yourself. So, nearly did it again. Let's go pick up his next upgrade. Ultrasonic supercharge. Hold X to shoot a supercharged ultrasonic arrow. We'll go ahead and buy that for 700. And you know what? We can actually get all of these. Songs of the Underworld can make one more set of speakers and last longer. That's now in stereo for 900. So primary, tertiary, and you guessed it, the final base upgrade will hit secondary with power chord. Blast enemies around you with your notes at the end of an E-slide. So we're going to back out of here and check this out. We'll do them chronologically. So ultrasonic supercharge. The way that works, you're probably thinking, oh, how long do you have to hold it down? Well, I'm pressing X and releasing. Pressing and releasing, rapid tapping, if you will. If I come in and I press X and I simply don't let go, he's going to fire off the ultrasonic supercharge. So you count it yourself, it's roughly like 1 second. I mean, it's super insignificant. Primarily, and he jumps on his own. That is not me. And when he does jump like that, it won't impact, you know, like if I jump and shoot, I'll miss the target. Rest assured, I've tested this. He's going to land these hits. And it's good that he does, because they do over double the damage at 76 to 114 apiece. So case in point, I just hold down, and you see there's a radial blast with it. What I'm doing here is just holding X down. So it's not spammable in the sense of like a rapid tap here, but if you just hold X down, you can kind of go to town with it. So in the base upgrades, I showcased ways you could sort of maneuver and fire and just, you know, constantly press and release X after the supersonic arrow. So it's sort of advanced strategies there. That said, what we have now is now in stereo. We're going to get 2 sets of speakers, and they basically doubled the duration. They'll run 8 seconds, and instead of doing 5 hits of damage from each speaker, they will do 10 hits of damage. What are the damage numbers, you ask? Well, let's find out. As you can see, it maintains itself at 16 to 24. So, I'm going to finish him off. Let's go ahead now and get 2 dummies, and watch this. We're going to push him back, and we're going to push him back. Well, actually, those are out of place, but you get the idea, right? Kind of know what I'm going for. Let's try that again. 1, 2. So okay, that got both of them. And you get the idea of how useful this could be. you can just lay waste to things because it's sort of like an impenetrable shield for the duration it runs, in part because the enemies are not strong or swift enough to get up to it, much less around it. So granted, when the time runs out, it's sort of done. Only caveat here, if I were to throw down a set of speakers and do it again, it just replaces them. But you can go right angles. You can only have the 2 sets, of course, but you kind of get a feel for it, right? Coming down here, though, another way you could use this, say that Persephone is like a super strong Shadow Knight type character, and I'm low health. I don't want to switch the character. I want him to get the XP orbs at the end or whatever it may be. As I'm running away, we would probably power slide for speed. I'd turn and throw down the speakers, and then I'd come away again and put a second set, and that effectively doubles it. As soon as I see the first set go down, I just place a new one, get to 8 seconds, slide away, place again. Again, it kind of just ties in with your personal playstyle, but for me, I prefer the hit and run strategy. I always have in Skylanders. It varies with some characters. You know, some are incapable of that. They just need to basically be, I'm going to go walk right up to this enemy and punch them, and then if my health gets low, pull me. But for the most part, I prefer to come in and sort of do ranged attacks, and then come in hit and run type of a deal, play defensive if you will, which is again why I prefer speed and armor. You can spend some time with Wolfgang mastering things, and I think he will reward you quite well. So, last thing, which you kind of saw when I slid his power cord. Basically, at the end of his slide, he just pops up. You see the undead element skull. Pretty cool stuff, right? So, it is going to do 14 to 21 4 times, just like we have with our standard issue knee slide. You know, your secondary attack box stock. The catch is now, when that explosion happens, it's going to deal 43 to 65 damage. So this goes from something that you needed to use like 3 or 4 times to eradicate this guy to something that you can usually get by with 2 to 3. So, plus it just looks really cool. I mean, you got to admit. So, that said, these are the base upgrades for Wolfgang. They're the same thing we did last night in the live stream. It's just we're doing them here with Dark Wolfgang to sort of have it cemented and everything. So, nothing really groundbreaking. There's not any one. Ultra Supersonic Arrow is sort of like the closest, you know, to being like, ooh, those numbers. But there's not like a 250 or a 320 or anything crazy like that. However, the speed at which he can shoot, the way he can escape, the way he can push enemies away from himself, all 3 of those elements sort of combine to create a perfect storm, if you will, in terms of a base upgrade. So the playstyle might not suit everyone. You know, if you're accustomed to, like, you know, the choppers, the brawlers, things along those, the smashers, I should say. This is sort of a more refined playstyle. I'm sure we'll probably see it with the other bow-slinging characters. Not 100% sure on that. But nonetheless, I'm pretty excited about it. Again, I've already taken Soundmeister. I did that with Standard Wolfgang. And we're going to come in and take Crowd Pleaser with Dark Wolfgang. They do the same damage. It's not like the Legendary where there's a statistical and attack damage increase. If you have Dark Wolfgang, he does the exact same damage as Standard. If you have Standard, it's the same as Dark. No real difference aside from just the in-game and in-person physical appearance differences. My thoughts, I just thought Crowd Pleaser suited Dark Wolfgang better, and I thought Soundmeister suited Standard Wolfgang better. That's literally all there was to it. But we're going to come in, we're going to check that path out, and I think it's going to turn out to be pretty cool. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you missed the live stream on Halloween, fear not, I have divided it up. I sort of broke it down into the Undead Sensei realm, Wolfgang, and then I created for the first ever time in-game. The previous Imaginators you'd seen, I'd done them on the app. First time I'd ever thrown down a creation crystal and actually used it. I did one time and I was like, I'm not doing this, we have no parts. But threw it down. I created Sir Skellington. That video is probably out by the time you see this. I haven't decided how I'll do it, but if you did miss the Halloween live stream, I'll be releasing the whole thing after we've released all the parts. You can just kind of pick your poison. If you got 2 hours to sit around, you can do that. If all you care about is Wolfgang's base upgrades, broken down. If you care only about Sir Skellington, you can check him out standalone too. So kind of tried to cater it to everyone. That said, if you do not want to miss any live streams, follow me on Twitter. That's right, I said Twitter. Twitch is notorious for not sending out notifications when I go live, really when anyone goes live. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Sometimes you get it like right before the stream ends. If you follow me on Twitter, every time before I go live, whether it's on Twitch or Beam, I will definitely be tweeting. Last night I came in once or twice and said, hey, we're going to go upgrade Wolfgang. Hey, going to create an Imaginator. So that is your best source of updates, period. If you don't like Twitter, just go to my website. I've got the Twitter feed on the side. You get the same experience. But follow me on Twitch if you have not. And sometimes here lately, Twitch has not been letting me stream. The last 2 nights it has. But in the event that they go back to whatever was wrong prior to that, I started streaming on Beam. I love the user interface. I actually prefer it. If they would let me export over to YouTube directly without having to download, it would be amazing. So check it out. You can be one of the first few. I think we're up to 6 followers there, which isn't bad considering we streamed once. And we'd never used it prior to that. So it's a pretty cool setup, though. Check it out. You might like it. SkylanderClub.com. I've got polls. Poll battle. We've got Dark Wolfgang versus Standard Wolfgang. We're going to start getting the paths up there. I'll be working on that possibly even tonight. So if you get into that sort of a thing, anyone can vote. I'll try to remember to put a link in the description box. To SkylanderClub.com. Literally, when you go there, there is a section dedicated to polls. If you want to comment on it, you do need to register. But if you just want to vote because you think Dark Wolfgang is by far the best looking Skylander ever, that's what you can do. You don't have to register, nothing. You can just vote. Personal website, thru.com. That said, thanks so much for watching. And I think we're going to get ready to take this guy down. Crowd pleaser. Hopefully it is a crowd pleasing path. So stay tuned for that. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you back here for more Skylanders research.